Do you want to know how to keep all your real estate deals completely private? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that so no one will know who they're actually selling the property to. All right, let's get started. Okay, so here's the thing. If you want to keep your real estate deals completely private, there are a few steps you need to go through to ensure that people can't trace the purchase and sale agreement or your entity back to you. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, you know I go into how you create an anonymous business structure. For example, if you were considering buying real estate and you didn't want your name to appear on title, you have really two options. Number one, you can create a land trust to take title to that property, or you can create an anonymity compliant LLC. So what is the difference here between this? Well, with a land trust, what we'll do is we'll create a trust here that's going to, you can pick any name you want for it, and then you're going to have to use a nominee trustee. Okay, so a nominee trustee can be either a Wyoming LLC if you want to use that. Actually, that's not a nominee, that's a real trustee. You can set up a Wyoming LLC to be your trustee of your land trust. And with a Wyoming LLC, the reason why it provides you anonymity for this trust is because the information on the Secretary of State site for Wyoming for that LLC will not disclose who the members or managers are with that particular limited liability company. So when you end up taking title in the trust name, we'll call this the 123 Trust, it will have the LLC's name listed as its trustee. So it'll say Blue Box LLC, trustee of the 123 Trust. So now title is held in a form in which no one can trace this back to you individually because it's held in the trust name in the care of the trustee. The second method in using land trust is to use a nominee trustee. Now, I have served on thousands upon thousands, probably close to 10, 20,000 land trusts during my career where I am listed as a trustee. So use an attorney, and this is what we call the nominee. So now with a nominee trustee, I take title of the property on behalf of the trust. So that it'll say Clint Coons, trustee of the 123 Trust. Now, the reason I refer to myself as a nominee is that after we've taken title, I resign my position and then the client steps in as the trustee and no one is aware of this. I got lots of videos on my channel. If you want to learn more about land trust, just do a search for land trust and you'll find plenty of videos that break this subject matter down for you. Now, see, you're probably sitting here going, all right, well, Clint, hey, I have to sign on the document, so they're going to see my name there. I'm going to show you how you can sign on documents personally, and they're not going to see your name and know it's you. We'll get to that in just a moment. But I first want to talk about the limited liability company. So if you go the LLC route and you're not using a trust, same principle. You set up an LLC, but in this case, that LLC needs to be an anonymity compliant LLC. So if I was buying property, for example, in Colorado, I would create a Colorado LLC that's owned 100% by a Wyoming LLC. Again, remember, I had a Wyoming LLC over here as that trustee. Same principle. But in this case, we're using it to own the membership interest in a state-specific LLC that will ultimately buy the property. Now, in this type of structure, when we're going to buy in an LLC versus a land trust, when you set up the Colorado LLC, we make this one a member managed LLC. So on the actual Colorado filing, we list this Wyoming LLC name up here as its member. So if you looked at the red box, it would state that the blue box is the member manager. And if somebody looked at the blue box, which is in Wyoming, they're not going to see any information about us because, as I stated, Wyoming doesn't collect any information on its members or managers. So that's the base setup, right? You got to get the structure in place. But that's just title holding. You have to come down now to sign a purchase and sale agreement and go through all the closing documents. So how do we structure that so our name's not going to appear on any of the documents and people don't know that I'm involved? Well, there's two ways to do that. Now, the first way, well, is going to be my favorite way, of course, is to use an attorney. All right, so use an attorney. Wonder why that is. Maybe because I am an attorney. So have an attorney sign for you on behalf of these of these entities. So when you're going to closing, all the closing documents, purchase and sale agreement, the attorney will sign on behalf of the entity. So you put the purchase and sale agreement together in the name of this Colorado Redbox LLC. And when you're doing this, make sure you're putting in Redbox LLC and or designated entity. So if you have to do a last minute switch at the end, the seller cannot object to that. You can bring in a new entity in place of that Redbox. But that's something to keep in mind. But the point is that you have your attorney sign. So I've signed on multiple closings for clients over the years where I've been listed on there. I'm not liable. I'm just signing on behalf of the structure. So you can use an attorney to sign, and that way it keeps your name off the records. But let's say you don't have access to an attorney or an attorney that is comfortable doing this, because I get it. A lot of attorneys just don't understand how things work. So in that case, it can be you. You can actually sign your own purchase and sale agreements. You can sign on behalf of your entities for closing, and they're not going to know it's you. Now, how do you do that? Sign it with an alias. So believe it or not, you can Google this, you can check on it. In the United States and in many countries, you can actually operate under an alias. In fact, you've probably seen this on forms before that you filled out for the federal government. They ask you list out any aliases in which you've been known in the past. So in order to operate under an alias, you just have to pick a name. Now, the one thing you can't do if you want to go down this road, and you got to be really careful if you want to use an alias, is you can't use it to defraud. All right. Now, so we're not defrauding anyone here when I'm buying a piece of property. I just want to preserve my privacy. The other thing you can't do when you're using an alias is try to take advantage of someone else's likeness. For example, if I made a purchase and sale, I dropped a purchase and sale, blind purchase and sale agreement on a potential seller, and I said my name was John Travolta.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
As you can tell, I am trying to convince the seller that the actor is attempting to buy this property. Now, that would be a reason why someone could possibly invalidate that agreement and say that you were trying to defraud or mislead that individual. So you can't do anything like that when it comes to using an alias. It has to be a generic name. What's a generic name anymore? I don't know, but I would not pick someone famous for sure. And so when you sign on these docs, you're essentially signing yourself, but you're using your alias to hold yourself out under a different name. So in my case, maybe I decided my name's going to be Ben Hansen. All right. I decided to operate under that alias. Now I would put some documentation together as well. I always keep it, an assumed name certificate. I would write it all out and have it notarized that I, Clint Coons, hereby plan to hold myself out as Ben Hansen for purposes of signing on legal documents for the purchase and sale of real estate transactions. I have to have someone notarize it as well. I have my ID with it. So if you come up to title or escrow and they need to verify who you are, this could be a potential problem, of course, when you're dealing with escrow. But at least you could sign the purchase and sale agreement and get past that initial hurdle. Because when you sign the purchase and sale agreement with an alias, remember, you're signing on behalf of this entity. And I would actually state in the entity itself, have a resolution that Clint Coons is going to be signing on behalf of the entities authorized to sign under his alias, Ben Hansen. When it comes to protecting our privacy, there are ways to do it. It takes a little bit of creativity to do this when you're buying real estate. But the other thing to keep in mind is that these types of transactions, when it comes to buying anonymously, many times you understand that it requires that you buy for cash. Okay. So you won't be buying using a loan. On the loan, you'll have to give a personal guarantee. So your information will be disclosed in that scenario. But in most other scenarios, when you're buying for cash, there are ways to put these structures together. Thought it'd be interesting to share with you. There are how to do this if you're considering buying property anonymously, setting it up the right way. If it was interest to you, be sure to hit the like button. If you're not yet a subscriber, well, smash on that button as well. Take care.